Today, we're going to be taking a look at the top 25 vintage basketball card sales on eBay for the month of October. There are some crazy sales in here, including some high grade comp specs, which, if you aren't familiar with them, are very tough to source alone by themselves. And then we also had some high grades from 1957 tops and 61 Fleer, plus your common rookie cards that you typically see every single month. So, this out of the way, let's take a look at some sales. All right, so let's take a look at some of these top sales. So, first, what I define as vintage basketball is 1981 or earlier. No duplicated cards are allowed, but if there's autos or variants, that's a-okay. And then both graded and raw can be sold, and they'll be here. So up first, we have a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar 1975 tops in a nice PSA 9 grade. There's 44 PSA 9s out there and 610s. This example here sold slightly under $1,800. We have a 1972 Dr. J inscription, 3X champion, and then autograph down below. This one sold for $19.91. There is going to be another Dr. J a little bit later within the video. Also, I should mention that this card has a 7.5 grade. All right, we have a 1975 Moses Malone rookie autograph. The card has a 5 grade. The auto is a 7. If you can't see the auto, it's on the far left over there. It kind of blends in a little bit, but Moses Malone autos are pretty tough to find. And another card that's sold slightly under $2,000. A 1971 Elgin Baylor in a PSA 9 gray. There's 29 PSA 9s out there. There's no 10s, which is why this went super expensive. Although Elgin Baylor is obviously a really good basketball player. A 1973 Don Smith. Wasn't familiar with Don Smith. Reading his wiki, he had a very short career. This is a Pop 1 in a PSA 10, which again makes sense why it sold for so much. And someone in the registry definitely needed this card, because it sold for $2,300. Jack Twyman, 1957 tops in an 8 grade, which is an awesome grade on that side of things, right? Really, really great colors on this example. It does look like it has some minor registration issues though, but it did sell for $2,200. Man, this almost looks pack fresh. Pete Maravich signed autograph on this. Was it 71? Apologize if I'm off on that year. I'm pretty sure it's 71, right? We go back, yeah, 71. There is some damage to the card. What's interesting is it got labeled trading card instead of 1971 tops, and that 8 is, I believe, just the auto grade. Yeah, it says auto grade on there. There's not much Maravich signed stuff out there, so I don't know if this was like really, really cheap or this is about the price point on it. I'd have to do a little bit more research. I didn't do that for this video, but regardless, pretty cool autograph to feature here in their 19 spot. Jumping to 18, we have a Lou Alcindor 1969 tops. This 6 sold for $2,700. We'll see another one of these a little bit later with a ton of inscriptions. Kevin McHale in a PSA 10. What was interesting is this exact copy sold more than some of the other 1010s that featured. So I'm not sure if that price is correct or some of those 10 autos sold cheap. So I'm just calling that out over here. It seems really odd to me. Frank Selvey, I believe that's how I pronounce it. Looking up some information about him. He scored 100 points in a game in college. 1961 Fleer in a 9. This looks pack fresh also. $28.50 on this copy. In the 15 spot, 1970 Pete Maravich in a PSA 8. This copy sold for $2,900. A little OC though, top to bottom. I will call that one out on this card. 1948 Bowman George Mikan. This sold for $3,400, which is honestly one of the cheaper sales I've seen of this card. I think the 1.5 is kind of generous on this. Not gonna lie, I think it should have gotten a 1. But I don't know how much the half point really boosted the sales price on this copy. Dave Gamby 1961 Fleer, also in a 9. There's some really high grade vintage this time around, and this copy sold for $3,500. John Kerr, I apologize if I mispronounced it. $3,500. Also, another 1961 Fleer in a PSA 9. He was an NBA player, coach, and a broadcaster. Havlicek in a PSA 6. That's a massive grade for this comp spec, by the way. These are very tough. Have you ever felt one of these in person? Super, super thin, also being a regional issue. This copy over here sold for $4,000. Before we jump into our top 10, I want to show you guys some of these different honorable mentions. So up first, we have a 1971 ABA team logos. This exact card here is a Pop 2 and a PSC 10. It sold for $1,500. We have a 1961 Fleer Oscar Robertson. This 4 sold for $1,500. Then we have a 1972 Phil Jackson, and then we have a 1957 Dolph Schayes autograph. Again, one of those trading cards, which is so odd to me. The card has some coloring issues, but regardless, this still sold for $1,682. 1974 George Gervin card with an 8 and a 10 autograph for this sold for $1,000. Multiple inscriptions over here. All right, let's jump into our top 10. And up first, we're going to have a 1969 Topps Rulers of Wilt Chamberlain. This got the PSA 8 grade, and this sold for $4,205. Then we have another card that you don't see that often on these videos. This is an NBA P card, which there's a lot of rumors on how this came to be. The one that I've heard the most from vintage basketball collectors is this was cut off of some sort of box. You can kind of think of like, what is it, the Rollins of Stan Musial in the 50s. Sort of similar case on that side of things, with all these different cards within the set. This example over here, Bill Russell, sold for $4,500. In the 8th spot, we have another Kareem, and look at how many inscriptions you have on that. That's insane. The price point on this is $4,800. 1961 Jerry West in a 7.5. Another really great grade, although the card looks a little dull, but it could be just the scan. It sold for $5,250. 1972 Julius Irving. This has an 8.5 grade, which is one higher than the BVG we saw a little bit earlier. This sold for $5,450. 1957 Bill Russell rookie card. OC on this copy. That's kind of typical for 57s. You see it happen all the time with the Bill Russell. And this sold for $5,755, the number 5 spot. All right, we're jumping to number 4. The triple auto of Bird, Irving, and Magic Johnson. Still a fun project for people to get this autograph, although it is quite expensive. This exact copy sold for $6,000. Jumping in the 3 spot, another comp spec of Oscar Robertson, which is a 9, which is insane to me. There's only 21 graded 9s in the entire set, with only 110 out there, just to show you how tough it is to get a 9 in this, and that sold for $12,000. Number 2 is a 1981 Larry Bird in PSA 10. This is down a little bit. Last video attended 17K, this time 13.1. And let's jump into our number 1 selling card this month. That's going to be 1961 Wilt Chamberlain in a PSA 7 grade, which sold for $13,790. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm going to put last month's on the screen right now. Thank you guys for checking it out. If you're new, make sure to subscribe. And if you enjoy the content on the channel, maybe look at becoming a channel member, and I'll put you at the end of the screen like that. All right, see you guys.